Hey friends, I want to share with you today something that has been really helpful for me getting in touch with my body and getting in touch with my monthly cycle. And that is the idea of the 4 inner seasons. So in today's video, I'm going to go through each of the 4 inner seasons and what you can expect and what types of energy shifts typically happen during these seasons. So for most of us menstruating people, our cycles are somewhere between 25 and 30 days, and we tend to go through 4 distinct phases during each month's cycle. So I'm going to start with essentially day one. So day one of the cycle is when you begin to bleed. So when menstruation happens, day one, the cycle begins anew. And this is the season of winter. So while we are bleeding, while we are menstruating actively, this is the winter season of the body. So this is a time of quiet, of clarity, to go within. This is a very gentle time of the month. It really calls us to rest more and hone in and into our intuition some more. If you think about the season of winter, right? It's usually cold. It's quiet. It's a time when we spend more time indoors, more time resting. So winter is a yin phase, so yin as opposed to yang. So we'll talk about both of those. Yin is the softer, more feminine, receptive, quiet energy. So again, while we are menstruating, while we're bleeding, we are in our winter phase. And this is usually, between day 1 and 7, so kind of the first week of the cycle. And then also during winter, our hormones are relatively low, and they're pretty even, pretty low during the winter season. So next, as you can imagine, we move into spring. So the spring season is generally week 2 of the menstrual cycle, and this is the first yang cycle, or the first yang season, coming into more of that expansive, masculine, active energy. During the spring season, our estrogen levels start to rise. We start to feel good. Our skin and hair naturally starts to look a little bit better. It's kind of a time of kind of coming out of the period cave, if you will. We feel ready, we feel fresh, we feel wanting to engage with the world again. And during our spring season, it's a really great time to take action and be decisive and get work done. This is a very productive week of the cycle, or the productive season for us. So again, spring is the second week of the cycle, coming into higher levels of estrogen. We're feeling good, we're feeling focused, we're feeling productive. And this is again a yang season. And so then we move into the summer phase. So the summer season in the menstrual cycle is usually week 3. So this is ovulation and post-ovulation. So something I forgot to mention, the spring cycle, spring is pre-ovulation, coming up to the point where the egg is released at the midpoint of the cycle. And so summer is the ovulation and post-ovulation phase. So during summer, this is also a yang cycle, lots of expansive energy. We tend to feel our best generally. This is when we get a nice peak of testosterone. We're feeling a little bit more confident and sexy. This is the most social part of our cycle. We want to get out, we want to explore, we want to engage with other people. This is, of course, when our sex drive tends to be the highest, just from a biological standpoint. So again, the summer season, we are, estrogen is fairly high, but we also get that peak of testosterone. We have just ovulated and we're feeling good, we're feeling social. And again, this is a yang cycle. Week 3 of the cycle is summer. And then about halfway or 2/3 of the way through the summer season, our hormones start to shift. So we've reached a peak of estrogen before, that's kind of coming up to ovulation. And then in the summer season, week 3, progesterone starts to rise, estrogen starts to fall. And of course, after that little peak of testosterone, that starts to fall as well. And so this is kind of a preparation for us coming into our autumn phase. And autumn is usually the time that we think about the premenstrual phase. So this is week 4 of the cycle, and this is a yin phase. Here we are coming out of the yang of spring and summer and coming back into the yin energy of the autumn. This is when we tend to kind of draw our energy inwards. This is, of course, if you deal with any kind of PMS or premenstrual, symptoms. This is the autumn part of the cycle. Our energy tends to be a little bit more chaotic this time of our inner seasons, and we may withdraw, we may feel a little bit irritable. Our intuition, however, also is more heightened. We are way more in tune with our own emotional self and the energies around us. So autumn is just kind of a chaotic, almost darker energy. This is when we can do really good shadow work and diving deep into, our psyche during the autumn season. We tend to really take stock of, who we are, what's not working for us in our life during our autumn season. And this is, of course, the, premenstrual phase. So our progesterone is high, estrogen's really low, testosterone's really low, and we are preparing to shed the lining of the uterus. So we are starting to withdraw and pull our energy back in during our autumn season. And that is the week 4, or the last week of the cycle. And so then it begins again. Once we begin to bleed, again, that becomes day 1 of the cycle, or moving into the winter season. So for me, working with the idea of inner seasons it really feels good. It's very intuitive to me. Coming from my, scientific background, learning about the menstrual cycles and the, just the hormone shifts, like all that was cool and it made sense, but to really embody this wisdom, embody this knowledge, I really love working with the idea of the inner seasons. That we have these 4 distinct seasons, these 4 kind of weeks. And again, everybody's cycle is different, so it doesn't necessarily matter if yours follows exactly, 7 days of each. That's totally fine. You're still experiencing the same cycle every month, going through those 4 seasons. So again, if this is something that you can incorporate into your life and better understand your body and your emotional landscape and how your energy shifts, I really encourage you to work with this idea of the inner seasons. And the first place to start is just by tracking your cycle. So if you're not already started tracking, I highly recommend that you begin that. Whether you are on any kind of birth control or not, it's really important to just get in touch. Because so many different things change throughout the cycles, including our besides our moods and our energy, things like cervical discharge and spotting and cramping and all these things do, come and go depending on where we are in our cycle. And I think it's really important to be in touch with those things. So you can use an app, like I use the app Clue to track my cycles. That's been really helpful. And it gives you an opportunity to know, when you are in your winter phase, when you're in your, spring, summer, and autumn phases, when your ovulation hits. And this is also something that you can track with basal body temperatures. So like I said, if you haven't started tracking your cycle, now is the time, just so you have a framework of what your body, your unique cycle, how long it is, how long you bleed for, are you experiencing cramps or other premenstrual symptoms? And then you can kind of incorporate this wisdom of the inner seasons to help you know yourself better and become more comfortable in your body and your experience. So I invite you to give this a try, and I would love to hear your comments and your experiences about working with the inner season. So drop me a comment below. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, everyone, take care. Bye.